So I'm here at Glynnis in the living room of Mark and Meg, and this beautiful, peaceful land. And these are the caretakers, the custodians, and the residents of this land. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. And
we're happy you're here. So glad you're here.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys again. I'd love to start. I think you were telling me you've been here, you had the land for 7 years, and you've lived here for 3 years. And I know that it was this guided process to come to the land. Maybe we could talk about how did you come to be custodians of this place?
I'm going to start off with a little bit in the beginning, and it's not a Bible story, so you can relax. But I mean, we are still just kind of ordinary people. We raised our kids in suburban St. Louis, and they did sports, and we went to school. They went to school. We took we were involved in that, and we did go to church, but it wasn't anything, it was very traditional. And what happened recently, within the last 7 years, has been it's been mind-blowing just as to how things have evolved. And just what I would say is just like, for me, completely unexpected. Like I had no understanding of it when it was starting. I was not involved. My beautiful wife here, she was involved in some of this. So I, just out of interest of what she was kind of like into and kind of learning during the process, I picked up on a little bit.
And experiencing.
Right. Yeah. I pick up on a little bit, but I was like, I'm a lawyer who does insurance. And that was my identity. So, in addition to like a father and.
Right. A little bit, just what happened is a mild part of the background was, I would say this all really began in earnest May 15th of 2018. However, prior to that, we had a store, and I did work as a spiritual life coach. So I have to say that inspiration, connecting with people, I had a really major transformational kind of spiritual experience at 21. So that had become kind of a foundational part of our life. There was definitely a relationship with spirit, a relationship with, for me, it was more a voice of love, kind of over fear, those kind of things. But so we owned a store, an inspirational store, and did the coaching and did gatherings and things like that. And then the store, we closed the store at the end of 2017, and it just felt like something was in the works in the beginning of 2018. It just felt like there was an energy, kind of a build-up, a feeling of almost an anticipation or an expectation. And then on May 15th, it's really kind of a silly story for us because I was just watching a YouTube video, and it was a gal that does hypnotherapy, and I wasn't really interested in getting hypnotized, and I wasn't interested in becoming a hypnotherapist, but something was drawing me, and I was used to this kind of messaging, like subtle messaging, like stay here, there's something here for you. And as she was describing it, she explained that she had been in the training under hypnosis, and her father, who had passed away, had come through and given her a method for channeling. And that was called the Art of Universal Knowing, or TALK for short. And my body went electric. I mean, my fingers were on the computer. I wanted to leave. You know, she was very sweet. Her name's Suzanne Spooner. People can look her up. She's wonderful. We've met her now. But I was not impressed with it at the time. You know, it was nothing I was looking for. And I did go to that other website. I felt that you know, instruction to go. And there was a method to learn how to basically do a messaging or a channeling method that, you know, really can be taught to anybody. It seemed hokey to me at first, and I wasn't really interested, but I definitely felt like I was being called to do it. And so that basically, you know, I'll tell you too, I laughed because I remembered feeling inside, I'm very resistant to this. It's probably something that's going to cost $300 or $400, you know. I'm not interested in a training of any sort. And really, there were just a couple little materials, and it was $22. And that was kind of a special number in our life, just because of connections with our parents, with their birth dates and different things like that. So anyway, basically, that was the day it all started. And then I began receiving messages. I was instructed through those messages, because this was very different than just having like inspiration or a kind of a subtle voice in your head or in your heart. This was very specific written, you know, writing. And sometimes the writing would have words I didn't understand, or they would be in other languages. And this is how we began to trust. So then I was instructed to teach Mark. And then we were also instructed to share it with our children. And ultimately, we've been told whoever has an interest in learning. So we've probably shared it with, I mean, over 100 people. And so from there, very quickly, I mean, within the week or two, we were told through the messages, there is a property, 10 acres on the River Merrimack. We would call it the Merrimack River. We wouldn't even speak like River Merrimack. Under a quiet karst. And the karst is limestone topography, which we did not know what that word meant. We didn't know it meant caves and water and, you know, things like that, and limestone, as you said. So these were all things right off the bat that we were like, what?
Wow.
You know,
In the first.
This is in the very beginning, within the first couple weeks. I mean, we were told, really, it was very early.
In a valley.
In a valley. We are in a valley.
The winter
and park
were used.
Oh, because George Winter Park.
And Jefferson Winter Park and Robert Winter Park surround us.
Ah.
So we didn't know, nothing was like specific, but we were told 10 acres. We were told under the karst, on a side street, all of these things. And from there, and the messages themselves were very loving too. I mean, one of Mark's, we laughed like in the beginning, remember, like every day, like it would just say, be you, be you. Like it was an invitation to really go within, you know, to connect with the heart. And they were really loving. And so we were very confused. This was new. This felt a little scary. But on kind of like I guess on that discernment level, we could really feel that it was loving. And so we began looking on the realtor.com.
Yeah, we started following, and our initial inclination, at least my initial inclination, the word valley and park, and there's a town nearby called Valley Park.
Yep.
And then winter, oh, well, we're not going to, you know, we can put this off. It's not going to happen until winter season. You know, we can put this off for months, you know.
Yeah, we didn't know what was going on.
But we had no idea. I mean, that was our initial kind of, at least, interpretation. And again, it looking back at it, it was very clear, but there were pieces, there was a puzzle to it.
Right. And then it was around the middle of June, maybe. So just one month later, we had started looking on realtor.com type things.
Yeah.
And one day there was a dot, at this location, literally on the river. And when we opened it up, it said 10 acres. We thought that was really interesting. We got here with our realtors. It was all overgrown. There was just a basic path that you could see that we had to follow down. The driveway's about a third of a mile. So the realtors brought, a sickle and a machete, and we made our way down here in June. So
Oh, wow.
it was pretty crazy. But when we got down here, I mean, we knew. And they, I think, pretty quickly knew about, well, we had figured out by then what a karst meant and all that. But it just became like, even there were little things like, so I think we should also share that, these messages, we have received messages from other guides, but overwhelmingly for the 7 years, and we both really receive messages daily. It's been a being who announced herself as Mary, Lady of Light. I think both of us immediately connected with because of our faith tradition being Catholic, Christian, and also having I personally had a devotion to her because of my mother. But we came to find out that she's much more expansive than just the mother of Jesus. So people inquired about, why does she call herself Mary, Lady of Light? Is this the mother of Jesus? And in those first few months, what she basically ended up telling us was, I am the divine feminine, basically Mother God. I am the mother of Jesus. She's funny with us. She says, I am the sugar plum fairy. She says, I am your trusted girlfriend. And then she went on to tell us that she was actually coded in the DNA of all things as the feminine or magnetic polarity.
Wow.
And it did not matter what anybody called her, but she was with everyone. And so we see her, certainly we connect with her in a more traditional way. If you look around the property, there are some traditional statues of Blessed Mary, the mother of Jesus, but we also know her as Mother Earth, as Creative Mother, as the rose. Her symbol here is the rose, kind of representing this blossoming and this birthing and the feminine pathway, beauty and nurturing and creativity and softness and but powerful, really powerful.
Yeah. So there's this third being person that's like you two and Mary largely, who's like help manifest this whole situation, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, she is our guide. She is not somebody like she's kind of like Mother God on a level, but she's more of a personal guide, but she's also come to other people. So we don't hold her exclusive.
Right.
And we also think she just goes by other names to other people, that's more comfortable. She did explain that the name Mary is not quite what we think it is, that it's actually a term, it's a title. So Mary comes from the Latin mar or mare for the sea, and the sea being the feminine, the birth waters, the flow of emotion, creativity, consciousness being held in water. We're learning all of these things from Ada Austin now and things like that. And that was really shocking to me, but she explained, like, that's why there was Mary Magdalene, Mary of Bethany, Mary Salome. Mary was a title. And so we kind of think that's really interesting. It's kind of fun too that we found out the Merrimack the original spelling was M-A-R.
Ah,
Okay, so M-E-R works for the French for the C, but the Merrimack is M-A-R was the original spelling, and they misspelled it in one of, was it like a early
Like in,
publication?
Yeah, back in the
Okay.
1840s
Yeah.
or something like that.
So we're on the Merrimack, and again, we don't hold ourselves as special, but his name is Mark, M-A-R, and I am a Margaret Mary, which is M-A-R, M-A-R. We have a Maria and a Marley as our daughter-in-law and our,
wow.
so all of the women in our family carry that
That's interesting, yeah.
signature, which she says is actually a code or a vibration.
The sound of the
Yes.
parts of the names, yeah.
Yes, and she says the name is basically, it refers to a priestess or one who connects others to the divine. So that Mar or the C is really more of, again, a code or a symbol of one that is willing to like express or to share, to connect others to their divine nature. We have nothing to teach. You know, we have nothing to teach. All we have to do is help people see that Mary within them, or she talks about the Christ consciousness, if that's more comfortable, or the I am, or love, or light, or, at one with the divine. Any phrase, no word is going to clarify it, so she uses them all.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And by the way, I remember you saying about the talk, TAUK, and so I tried it. I got the little wheel and the pendulum, and I found it to be, the first message I got was just like you were saying. It was like, just be yourself, just be more of yourself. Because there was like a specific task that I was asking it about, and it was like, all you have to do is be yourself. Okay. And it wasn't like, here's how you should do the task.
Right.
But I found it to be kind of slow to get, because you get one letter at a time. Anyone who's used a Ouija board, it's like going from one letter to the other. Do you still use that method of like one letter at a time, or you kind of know what the word's going to be, but is it, what's your process for connecting?
When we moved here, so this would have been in December of 2022, I was directed at night, kind of woke up, because prior to that time I had been using that same talk process. And we had a ritual where we both would each morning kind of get messages and share them. And
it was slow.
And it was slow, and go about our day. Mm-hmm. But that particular night, in the middle of the night, I just woke up, and I had this knowing that I was supposed to come down here and get out a piece of paper and a pen, and then started a process of automatic writing. And mostly what we've been doing since then has been that. Occasionally, the old process is used, but
and we still teach that process if people want to know about it. And since it's very specific, I mean, the automatic writing you get is very specific too. I mean, again, Mary gives him phrases, words, ideas, things about quantum. I mean, we both get things like about the quantum field and even words in other languages, or she'll use acronyms that we have no idea what they mean. And then when we go to look them up, they fit perfectly in the message. But I think, so for 5 years, we did the other slow method. And I think it was part of our attunement. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the things that I think was, purifying like our energy field, or tuning our the receivership. Mm-hmm. So to us, I think we feel like there's more of a code in the DNA that has been turned down or turned off, and then there are things that you can do to sort of turn that back on. And they're not like magical spell type things. Most of them have to do with things like being loving, being open, not having a closed heart, being open to other realms, other, I guess, dimensions, or what Mary would call densities.
We consider that, I mean, it's our birthright, everybody's birthright. But it has been covered up for
Like,
generations
or
and centuries, or distorted. And that there's, like anything else, there's processes that can kind of start bringing the alignment back.
Yeah, back online. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we found, we do. I partnered with now she's a famous telepath to help people learn telepathy and remote viewing, and partly it's brainwave state dependent, so you need to be in this sort of relaxed flow state to some degree.
Yeah.
Which is, again, you have to be loving. You can't be like thinking about your to-do list, and you need to be in a certain space. And there is like a process of building trust with the actual information that you're getting. So I wanted to ask about, you started looking on realtor.com within a very short amount of time. How was it that you are already starting to trust the information you were getting from Mary?
Well, the fact that this property matched up so well with the message we had gotten, a couple of weeks ahead of time, was very reassuring and kind of mind blowing. Mm-hmm. But part of our story is that trust. We said no initially.
Mm. What do you mean?
We looked at it, and the price, was a lot of money, and
You're talking about the property.
yeah,
after.
with the property,
Mm-hmm.
we kept with the process of connecting, but as far as purchasing the property, we said no initially.
Oh, interesting.
And we can't do this.
It was out of our
We're
range.
suburban West County people, and what do we know about, as chainsaws or
a lot of woods here.
being the woods and things like that.
Well,
Exactly.
or really holding like a spiritual center where people could come and visit. And
Exactly.
we would, the doors are kind of open here for people to come and enjoy the land. And people do come. There's a pathway called the Way of the Rose that is like a meditation pathway that Mary gave us. There's obviously with the river and things like that. But there's also something else going on here that, we've had other experiences that something about the land is, vibrationally a little bit different. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely people have had experiences here, and we've had a lot of different experiences here. But I guess what I was going to say about that too was I think we had even had, I'm trying to think in that first month as far as some of the things that occurred that we like knew. I can't remember in the very first month some of the things that happened that we like right away. And I have to say prior to that, like even the shop that we owned, we knew that had been guided and that had been such a beautiful and successful place. So we were already in kind of a trusting place, and we had some experiences too around loved ones that had passed over, coming through and having communication with us and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So there were snippets of like, there's something more. There's something unseen that is real in this, what we now would kind of call like tapping into higher consciousness or higher dimensional realms. I do think we already trusted that.
Mm-hmm.
So then these messages were just more there was so much clarity, and they were beautiful. And, I know my very first message I received was, Meg, holy are we, no, I'm sorry. Holy, no, I'm forgetting it. Holy are we to share. You will serve thousands. Well, I mean, I was like, wait, what? I mean, that's a little bit daunting, but it's beautiful too. And I already was a life coach. And so I am a service person. And so I was like, okay, that's not creepy or scary. And I don't know, we were asked in the beginning not to ask ego questions. Mark and I never ask any questions. We always just say, like, good morning, is there a message? Because we were kind of instructed not to limit the information through our own, like, what's going to happen with my son's girlfriend, or, what is the next
lottery ticket to buy.
We don't ever ask any questions. Because then it's our ego directing the message versus the divine directing the message.
And even when we said no, like to purchasing the property, like we continued the process, and there wasn't any blowback. There wasn't any, it was all very, we weren't punished. It was all very, okay, you're not there yet. Just, kind of relax.
Yeah.
All's good.
So how did you eventually turn from a no to a yes?
So in July, so that we're still in 2018, we knew about the property. We had visited here. We were like, it's overwhelming. It's 10 acres of crazy woods. I called it Jumanji. People were saying, to get electric and water and, sewer or whatever. I mean, it was just going to be way
the logistics was,
it didn't fit in anything we could do.
Yeah. And
so, in our messages, Mary said, like, no worries, you are loved, you are, we definitely did not get in trouble for it. And like Mark said, we just kept doing the messaging. And then she said, you will receive a, kind of almost gave us the idea like a new path was being laid. And then she said, we had planned, we were going on a river cruise in France in September that had been planned even before all this started. And she said, you will receive a miracle in France and you will know your next step. And so we were like, oh, that's cool.
That's kind of exciting, yeah.
But honestly, we got to France, we got on the cruise. Mary was everywhere there. So we were in the south of France, in the Provence area, and Avignon, and her statues, and it was really lovely. But honestly, we kind of didn't think about the miracle. Like, we were on vacation and, doing all these other things. So it was one of the last days when we were on the cruise, and we had decided not to go on the traditional tour. And Mark's got a cab, and he took me up to it was called the Basilica
of Notre Dame
de Fournier. Fournier, I don't have good French, in Lyon.
Okay.
So we went up to this beautiful basilica, and we're inside touring, and it's 6 panels or 8 panels of beautiful mosaics. And so we went over to the Annunciation, which is traditionally in the Bible where Mary, the angel Gabriel comes to Mary and, says,
I'll take your word for it. But...
will you be willing to be the mother of God and, birth this child? And she says, yes. You talk.
So we're in this cathedral, and there's really what felt like an event, like almost like a little bit of an earthquake going on. But nobody, I mean, it's a huge cathedral. No, other people are there. Nobody's reacting. Nobody else is in fear. And as we look around, and so,
but the ground is moving, and we're
what we know is, we're having this experience.
Yeah.
We're shaking.
Yeah, the ground is shaking below us.
And And that's when, I mean, I turned to her and I just said, we're doing it. This is, we're going to do this. We're going to buy this property.
We're just going to go forward.
We're going to go forward.
We didn't even think we could get the property.
Yeah, we didn't know.
Right. We could get a loan. But then after I was like, Mark, no. And then he was like, we're going to do it. We're going to say yes. Like, this is guided. Why? We're not going to say no. Let's just put it in her hands. And then I kind of said, okay, as long as this is his decision, right? And then afterward, right after we said yes, the shaking stopped, and a gentleman came up to us, and he began speaking to us and telling us about the cathedral, all in French. And we don't speak any French, but we could understand everything he said to us. And he understood us, and he didn't speak English. So that went on for about an hour. And then, I mean, we really knew.
Wow.
And
wow.
We came home and we started the process. And I was like, oh, well, it'll be great because we won't get the loan for this. And so then we'll be off the hook. And I mean, everything started unrolling and everything just went forward. The loan came through. Money showed up in our accounts in totally miraculous ways, things that don't make sense.
Can I ask you, what were you experiencing when you started to just remember that miracle just now? What was going on for you?
It's so powerful and so it's such a surrender, such a trust that it's not like, oh, we're so great because we trust. It's the invitation, the laying down of this fear and this like human will is so beautiful and so miraculous, but it's like a gift. It's not, it's a gift like we can all accept. I don't know how to explain it. It's not something that we know this is not something that just is available to us. It's, but I guess that invitation, it's like so powerful and humbling at the same time. Like you know you're not alone. You literally know, I'll say that you're being lived through, you're being breathed, you're being expressed through. And what we're told all the time is if you connect to the idea of your personal identity, your ego identity as like Meg and Mark, I mean, we are in embodiment, we are humans, we are having this experience, but if you only attach to that identity as being separate and limited, you're going to suffer. And as soon as you just say yes to the spirit, to this higher consciousness, everything changes.
And Mark, in that moment in the basilica, did you have a similar experience of like letting go of your ego to some?
Yes, absolutely. Just the best way is just to surrender, just in a knowing. Like there was no doubt in my mind. There was no, no question marks at all. It was just like, we are going forward with this. And we, we had, again, it's faith, because we had no idea what that meant or where that would lead. But to follow that faith in that knowing.
And he had a joy around it, which, was fun. Like he was like, we're doing this. Like you could feel
kind of
it.
an adventure.
Yes.
And his calling came through almost like, yes, I will. And gosh darn it, it's going to be awesome. Even though So we've both felt fear for 7 years. I mean, sometimes, we can't say the fear has totally gone away, because every time something more happens, it's like, oh, what does this mean for us personally? Or if we don't understand something, or if we're asked to do something again that feels frightening, or something that we weren't programmed to believe, or all of those kind of things have come into question. Almost all of that has come into, but when we say question, now it's more of like a ease in the being open. We still don't understand, we don't know anything, right? But there is definitely more of an ease with stuff. There's an ease with the world, even though tensions are quite high, and it feels very chaotic on a level. There's like a trust of this, because she's been talking about it since this started 7 years ago. She said that, she basically said that anything that was created in denial of the divine would be dismantled, but not to worry, because the new earth was already here and rising. And we feel like we have experienced that.
And there's an edge. There's a excitement. We're pioneers or explorers. And in fact, we got the message. There's a term, plus ultra, which is Latin, and it's actually the national motto of Spain, and it means further beyond. And in Spain, they adopted, so the gates of Hercules, Gibraltar and the African side, whatever they called that, it's the gates of Hercules, which was kind of the end of the world for centuries and centuries, and no one went beyond that. And then, of course, the Spanish adopted it with Columbus, and just like the further beyond, like exploring the new world and exploring beyond. And so we even still, not usually it's the English, it's further beyond. She speaks of further beyond, further beyond. And so there's like so much more that's still out there, which is at times a little bit nerve-wracking. But at other times, most of the time, if allowed to really kind of think about it and sink in it, it's like, this is so exciting. We're living in a very exciting time.
Yeah, I have this sort of like give myself the identity of being a pioneer, because it helps frame like, okay, well, that means like no one's gone where you're going, really, if you're breaking the trail, right? If you're pioneering. And so it's not going to, there's no manual, there's no one really to ask how they did it necessarily.
Yeah, I would say we feel probably like somewhat like human pioneers, but we feel like the trail is there. Like it's been laid by many before us, but more in spirit. We definitely,
There's a trail to follow, but it's kind of like, it's the old deer paths or the Indian paths that you have to kind of navigate a little bit.
Yeah. I interviewed a fellow a couple of years ago, and I can't remember where he got this insight, but he had like met this team in the spirit realm, and it was like a department, and they were in charge of orchestrating all the synchronicities for people on Earth. So like, if we're all going to get what we want and do the things we're supposed to do, then like all the events have to weave together, right? Each person's life trajectory is like overlapping. And so they're in charge of setting it all up so that we get the experiences and do all that. And it sounds like it's like an important job, and people would sign up to do that orchestrating. And I was like, oh wow, there's like a whole bunch of beings there moving pieces around to try to, get us to go in some direction that we've agreed to go. And it sounds like that's kind of what is happening regarding this, is that you're continuing to say yes with the the orchestrations in partnership, essentially.
Yeah. And we really trust all of that. I mean, whereas I think years ago we would have been like, what? Or I don't know. All of those things would have sounded a little bit goofy to us or odd, but like now I feel like we have been told so much about that what is unseen all around us in these realms and all of these beings and all of the help and all of the activity, all of the all the information, right? That field of information, the field of potential, the field of possibilities, and how so much is going into that. And we were like, wait, what is she talking about? But now it's all beginning to make more sense. And she often puts it almost in a more futuristic, like, I don't know how long ago it was. She was like, you always think of me in the past, like the mother of Jesus, but I am, I'm timeless, I'm eternal, I'm even what you would call futuristic. And, she's talked to us about the fact that linear time is not what we think it is and all that. So I understand all that. But if we were talking in time, she speaks about, the quantum field and even technology. And she refers a little bit to like, almost like that this realm is created almost like a simulation and projection and things like that. So we've had to come to terms with that. It's not really a material, physical world. It's an energetic, spiritual world. It's a projection of thought. And whose thoughts are you projecting? Are you projecting the ego, the separated small identity, or are you aligning to your true self, which is your higher self? Again, your Christ self, your Mary self, your true self. I mean, all the words, right? Doesn't matter. And then you have a very different experience because you're projecting the light from your heart, which is more of the higher realm, heavenly realm, the higher octave, the I am. And that light it's not distorted. So we're normally creating our life from the distorted mindset of what we've been taught here, of false programs and false histories and false, all sorts of things. So distortion.
Yeah, I find there's a process of letting go, of unlearning, of abandoning assumptions. Maybe you guys could talk about like what's that been like for you too? Like if you had some sort of belief or pattern that you've had to just let it go. And I don't know if there's a specific example maybe you could use.
Money. Abundance.
Yeah, abundance.
Yeah.
Scarcity, exactly. I was kind of very attached to money, especially growing up, even as a little kid, like, collecting coins and kind of like working, but mostly just working to put money into a bank account, like never really spending it. And that became very much my identity and my security. Yeah, that's the best way. Like I would say that, I grew up going to church, but my security wasn't in the divine. My security wasn't in myself. My security was in money and in things of the world. And mostly it was reflected in like a bank account. It would be the best way to put it for me. And that continued for a long time into our marriage. But there, things happened that kind of just that broke that open. I lost my job, and that helped to break it open.
But you were still doing a job then. You had to create it. But with Mary,
right. Oh yeah,
Mary told us it was totally different. I mean, I understand like you shifted some of your things with money,
yes,
but it
yeah,
wasn't
but
until
it's
with Mary.
recently,
And
correct.
she taught us like abundance is available in the ether. Resource is in the ether. You think you create it and you earn it and you hoard it, paper and coin. And she talked all about that. But like you can play in the 3D realm, the third density realm of money as currency, or you can play in the fourth density realm, which some people would call fifth dimension. Words again are, interchangeable. But she would say,
Well, and that has to do with this property. Like when we had the property, and then when we went to get a loan to build, we did not get that loan. We were told no, and again, it seemed like this was a stopping point. Like this was, we're not going further, and but not too long into it, it was like, no, we're, it was like, I was like, no, we're going to come up with the capital. We're going to cash in some IRAs. We're going to take the next step so that we can satisfy the bankers to get this loan and move forward, because that's what was, that seemed very much like in alignment of what
right.
we were being asked to do. And
But then as a result, like things would happen in our checkbook. Like, I don't know, we'd get they'd say we paid our mortgage twice. And, or there would be just, I don't know, we'd out of the blue get some rebate on an insurance thing that, would be thousands of dollars that we've never had anything like that before. Or, there would be little things. And Mary even said it's not difficult for us to move bits of information, which I think she's talking about in like computer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, even that, like we've experienced all of these odd things where she says it just comes in naturally, and it comes in at the time. It's not about hoarding it. And so we've, even that, we told our builder when we moved in here 3 years ago, we think we can only last about 5 or 6 months here with cash flow, with what we have. And we've had no problems. It's been 3 years.
there's been no struggle.
There's been no struggle. Every month something occurs. But again, you can't play in two realms. So for us, we had to let go of the things we were hoarding, which we would never tell other people to do that. It sounds irresponsible,
Right.
But we were asked to do that. And then we were shown this other level of resource that comes in other ways. So,
and we've also had, there have been, I'm going to say, teaching opportunities, learning opportunities for us.
Mm-hmm.
We had kind of had an account that was kind of set aside. It was $25,000, and
that had been gifted
that had
to
been
us.
gifted to us
to
as
us.
kind of like we just
Right. And we were told.
and we were
to.
like, we were told not to touch it during the building process.
Mm-hmm.
We move in here, so they drill a well for our water, and the water is salt water.
Seawater.
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 Seawater. Mar again.
Uh-huh.
And
The
we're
Mar.
like
Full of minerals.
full of minerals and
salt,
full of salt.
Right under us.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But it's also not great for a new house.
Yes. Couldn't really drink that water.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, and it took, again, it's a process. It's like not everything is like there's a learning opportunity. I don't want people to get the impression like everything's just like this golden road, that rainbows and unicorns are just following us along, because it was 6-7 months before we could even kind of figure that out. And the solution, when it finally came, was a commercial reverse osmosis system, which
Was exactly
cost exactly $25,000,
Whoa.
which is the amount in that account that we were told not to touch.
So 18 months earlier, she had, guided us to put that money and not to touch it, even though we were going to want to, utilize it for the building.
Yeah.
So, again, so it's this, it felt scary. Mark brought water in here every single day. He was the water bearer, right? He would bring water because we couldn't drink the water here. We ended up showering in it for 6 or 7 months and things like that. But it was going through the appliances, which wasn't great. But sure enough, there's that, it wasn't difficult, but it was frightening. Like, why isn't this working out? But it really was. And then it was like so beautiful and miraculous. And we had this great understanding, and it furthered our trust, as opposed to just having everything go along perfectly, where you're not having those opportunities, like really living the life, having the journey. So
One of my mentors says, and this has to do with time in a way as well, but like whenever you have a problem, right, the solution already exists as well. They're created simultaneously. And I think a lot of people, including myself, that time that passes between when you want it to be solved and when it actually resolves, right? You said it was 18 months or 7 months or however, right? Is this impatience, right? For like, hey, I thought you guys were going to like smooth away, but I've been struggling with this for some time. How do you guys deal with that necessary patience step?
well, again, it's daily communication. I think the daily communication keeps us very, every single day, the messages, whether they're long ones or short ones, are beautiful and remind us of what is true. They remind us to return to the realm of consciousness, the realm of spirit, the realm of truth, versus getting attached to the material world. So it's not that we don't experience it, but we can then turn it over pretty quick.
And we are human. So, I am so grateful that I have this partner here that has helped. That helps to frame things differently. And we try to support each other.
How has this, going through this together, how has it impacted your relationship with each other?
You're the relationship person.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll take this one.
It sounds like a feminine question.
Honestly, I think we would probably say it's knowing ourselves truly as one, and also it's probably led to kind of the darkest nights of our relationship, like soul. Because I think we are,
that's a good way to put it.
constantly being asked to look at like the ego self, the fearful self. We've had to, not going to lie, I think you've had to do a lot of he's had to do a lot of shadow work through these 7 years from his past. Kind of the way he talks about the money and things like that, and a lot of protection, patterns of protection that you had.
Right.
And I think it kind of relates, to maybe what's happening like with the masculine feminine out there. A lot of people talk about the divine feminine rising and all of that. We definitely recognize that, but we think more than anything, it's the wounded masculine healing. So, this isn't about like all this strength from the females and the feminine. That is true, but it's like we're rising in the fact that we're, I guess, just I just feel like our like really our light is being, radiating more, and our hearts are being open. But to me, this is really so much about, it is the dance, but it's really about the masculine, stepping into like the sacred masculine versus the distorted or inverted masculine. And, he's had to do a lot of that. Like, he's been walking that path for us and for the world.
Could you say a little bit more about what is distorted masculine and shadow work, like what that would mean or look like?
I feel like not like thinking like success is about like power, money, providership, just the ideas of what the world might have told you versus like knowing like true purpose. Like we were just sharing that this morning, actually, that we were talking about. Mark definitely has a role as a provider for our family. We have, children and grandchildren, and I've never been, I think I've had a couple little jobs or something, but I've never, been really part of the money like here. But really his truer purpose is to really kind of just be an example, or a way shower for men and for the masculine to connect with the true divine self versus the ego self, the conqueror, the power, the it's given to me because I'm stronger, I'm bigger, I'm this, I'm all of those kind of just like outdated ideas. And where women fall in that in relationship, I think, he's had to see me in my own, like, I call it more light or radiance, but it's powerful, right? As a creator, as an intuitive, as all of those things, he has wanted to compete with that. Because then it's like, well, wait, does she have more power? And it's like, this isn't about power. This is about our like holy relationship, or at one-ment who we are together. If that makes sense. So I think, I don't know, I feel like you've just had to do a lot more work around it.
And part of it is, well, I feel like it's like not really being even attuned to this until much later in my life. I'm a baby boomer. I'm 66 now. So, but what I was taught was it's the masculine power. It's the masculine with money and the things that you get. And it's not what I've been learning and what I've been energizing is that there's something much more important than that, and that's our own divine self, and that's the relationship with myself, with the divine, and with others.
Even though it's all one.
Even though it's all one. Yes, correct. Thank you.
Yes.
And that's.
Yeah, and about joy, about expression of who he is versus being successful by a standard of measure, an external standard of measure. So, I've seen Mark more than I've ever seen him. We've been married 33 years, and I've seen him more, who he really is,
like
during
his
this
essence.
Journey. Yes. But I've also seen the shadow, and he's almost like fought me in it, because it's like, why can't it just go back to the way it was? I knew how it was supposed to be. And he was really good at how it was supposed to be.
Yes, that's...
He was really good at it.
You get that?
He was a nice guy and a great provider. And,
So the shadow is that ego self that we're taught to be attached to, and we taught that kind of is who we are, kind of rules the world,
Like,
rules
here's
our
a game.
rules our
I
mind.
figure out how to win.
That's right. It's success. it's
Yeah.
how am I gonna look good to the world?
Look good. Yeah. Get approval.
And not to my divine self, like ignoring that aspect of me.
We love that Mary talks to him a lot about being a gladiator, not a warrior, but a gladiator. So the masculine, the strength and the presence and holding the container and the leadership and the directing and the guiding and all of that, but not in war, but as like gladiator, which
I see when you write it, you capitalize the word glad.
I do.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it too. Yeah, it's been a lot more about joy and fun and like almost relaxation and flow and all of that. But it's also like this inner fire that he's like, but that's scary to attach, not to attach that, but to access that when I thought I could just attach it through degrees and money and doing a good job and I have kids and like all of those outer things. So it has been, I would say it's been a really sacred journey. It's not been always easy, for sure. But it's weird because I think we would say it's the best ever and maybe the worst ever. But we know the worst ever is actually just like we're like moving through
we're
it.
Moving, not yeah.
Like it's our own resistance. So we're not like, oh, this is the worst ever. We're victims. It's almost like, dang, we know we're supposed to really go through the. I don't know. You get what I'm saying, but it's all good.
Yeah. The shaman I work with might call it like an ego death process. Like there's multiple cycles of like you go through something and then another aspect is the ego death. Yeah, this is layers. You're breaking through layers. I understand, Mark, you get most of the messages like each night.
Correct.
And we've already mentioned like it's this divine feminine sort of God or blueprint. I'm curious, like how being the sort of the main channel has, beyond what we've just talked about, like how does that affect your own sense of masculinity?
Well, it is interesting that my messages come in the middle of the night because that's the space when I'm quiet. My ego mind's quiet and I'm able to connect. And then, morning comes and I wake up and it's like, oh, there's work to go to. There's these things to do back in that
productive task oriented
traditional masculine ego role. And that's probably part of why it has been it's definitely been a process. It's been there's been a lot of learning to be done from my standpoint about that. But as far as I feel that first of all, like the divine and the messages from Mary Lady of Light is for everybody. She doesn't speak just of the feminine or just of the masculine. And a lot of times she's very helpful for me. Like it comes in very, Meg was alluding to the fact, the gladiator and kind of like a message very much for the masculine, even though it's coming from what we would consider, or at least what I consider, a kind of a feminine energy. Mm-hmm. But she's everything. So that makes sense. Like she's not the energy of the divine is the all that is. It's everything.
I would also say for Mark, what's been fun to watch is that it is true. He kind of gives me the messages. He reads them to me in the morning, and we talk about them. But then he literally speaks them and sends them to me, and then I'm kind of the communicator about them. And I do most of the events here, and I do most of I lead events or groups. Also, other people obviously come here and do their own events and groups, and we have the space open for that. But he doesn't really teach it or even talk about it so much. But I think everybody around us has seen that he embodies it more, his the joy, the leadership, the awareness, the living not just by the ego self, but living by the spirit self. Mm-hmm. And that's become apparent to our boys. It's become apparent to, I think, his friends and family. And I think people are a little bit they don't know how to take either one of us. We haven't had any complete pushback from anybody. Nobody's been rude to us. But we're certainly aware people are uncomfortable with what has happened, what we're sharing, the life we're living here. I don't think anybody even really they don't disbelieve it. They don't think we're frauds or anything, but it's uncomfortable because I think it also invites them into some things too. Mm-hmm. And
which is uncomfortable.
Yes.
That invitation into this is uncomfortable.
And I think they're afraid we're getting, we always say, we even asked our boys, who are all adults, they're all in their 30s, if we're getting punked by the universe, can we come live at your house, in the basement? And they all said, of course, but you've got to go forward. You know what I mean? So it was we're not, we're always discerning this and looking at it. But I have seen from Mark, and he fights it sometimes, but this quiet strength, this quiet inner knowing, it's an expression that he doesn't try. He's not the talker as much. He's not the he's not doing great, right? But I tend to lead more things and do the communication, out on social media and things like that. When people come here, he does still own a business and he enjoys working and doing his business. So he is not always here. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to still be, dipping into the 3D world to run a business. And earlier there's a thread about, are you living from the 3D or the 5D? How do you find that transition? Are you jumping from one state to another? How are you running your business with guidance from Mary, or what's that process of living in the normal world for you?
So yes and no. I wish I had a better answer than that, but yes, we very much focused on running the business in a different octave. Now it's in service, but it is, it is more difficult. I feel like the mind, the ego mind likes these tasks to do and likes this list, and that takes place for me at the office. This is what has to get done, and this is accomplishment, and this is success, and that feeling of success from that is, and I'm not talking about money here. I'm talking about just accomplishment and getting it done is still false. It's not the real understanding of our divine nature, which is really true success. And it's not the joy. It's interesting since, there's been times, and again, there's been rocky roads, but there's been times that just like the joy here has just been unimaginable. I never in my in my wildest dreams as a kid could ever have imagined. And I don't really, that success at work doesn't bring that. I mean, that's strictly here. That is it's just amazing. Now, it's not. Maybe it's not for us to always. I don't know how it works. Like for us to always be in that state, because I wish. I wish to always be in that state, but that hasn't been my experience yet.
A state of
just complete understanding and joy and knowing.
Yeah, I think too, Mary, definitely refers to fourth density as a consciousness of unity. So it still includes the all that is. So there's certainly a spectrum. For instance, I feel like in 3D, we think of hot and cold as opposites. In 4D, you talk about temperature, one thing. And hot and cold are in the spectrum of one thing, temperature, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here in 3D, we tend to think of things as opposite, right and wrong, or, like I said, hot and cold, different things like that. In the 4D, you're thinking of everything in unity. So there's always this communion, this idea of oneness, this idea of non-separation. But that doesn't mean there isn't individuation or unique expression. And so I think also, the way that we have been taught to bridge that is by bringing that consciousness into this, what we would call this material or physical realm. Now it does alter then the physical and material realm. It becomes more, it doesn't live by the same laws of physics or anything like that. Because you're in this fourth density, this unity space versus this separation space. So even physical matter operates different in this space. But I think, again, we bring that here by elevating our, whether you call it like mind, from ego mind to divine mind, or we operate from the heart, or whatever the different phrases are. But we bring joy to things. We bring at one-ment. She tells us like every meal is communion. It's nourishment of the soul. It's not just food for the body. So we do a lot of communion here. But we do communion just having dinner and things like that. So it's this awareness. The word she gave us, glory. And, originally I think in my regular upbringing, it was always about giving glory to something other. And now she talks about glory is phenomena that is part of our own experience, where we know that we are connected to this, what I would have called other, this heavenly realm, this miracle realm. Glory is the participation in that. It's not the separation from that. So even, all of these words, she when she talks about desire, she always says, it's your heart's desire, not your ego desire. It's not the wanting and the needing of desire, but your heart's desire is the God spark that is the fuel for manifesting and creating the experience here. So everything gets slightly altered, but it still works in embodiment. And we still get to play and participate in that as bodies, as Mark and Meg, or as Derek, or whoever we are. But when we bring that into oneness, as opposed to keeping it separate, there's a heavenly realm that I hope to get to someday if I'm good enough. No, it's here right now. And we access it by participating in it.
That's something that I've been, even in just the last few days, playing with. Like when I used to think about, I want my spirit guide team to tell me more things, or I would love to see more UFOs, or I would actually love to see beings land their UFO and talk to me. Like that's like an external, like someone out there coming here to see me. And I've been trying to think about like, well, what if I'm like looking inside to like open those experiences, and it's like a out there versus in here type of shift, and it seems kind of similar maybe to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done that because we've had phenomena experiences of many kinds here, which we had not. I mean, we'd had some before this, so we were more open to it probably than just your average person. But we've also learned, like, the ego wants more clarification, they want more experience, more proof, more this, you know. It just comes in naturally when we, you know, mostly we have found it happens when we're in an elevated state. You know, we've had orbs here at the house, light orbs that will interact with us, come, you know, almost up to the windows, dance around. They will respond to, it's especially Mark, but it's when we're in an elevated state. And Mary says they exist all the time. You just only see them when you're in that state. Wow. They're there all the time. So we're not making them happen.
We're not trying.
Right.
I think that's kind of the key word. We're not trying.
There's you mentioned like this land, and it's kind of in a valley. And when I came today, it was almost like when you turn off the main road and then you're here, it's like I'm in a totally different bubble of reality in a way. Are there, maybe you could talk about, because I know there's a lot of people that come here, like what are some of the experiences that you've witnessed people having just by coming and being in this place?
I mean, mostly we see like energetic shifts. I mean, we have definitely had people come here. I mean, most people comment on, you know, like I just entered another, like I went through a gateway. Mm-hmm. They feel a different energy here. But we have had people that like right off the bat have almost difficulty. They can't speak very well. They have to sit down. They need water. So they're definitely having like an energetic experience. We have both through events or just people being here. We have had people that have had kind of some spontaneous healings and things like that. We definitely do not purport that or say this, you know, come and get your miracle healing here or anything like that. We feel like that can happen anywhere. But I do think that there is some sort of resonance that can occur. One of the things Mary does share with us is she'll say to us to tell people that while they're here, they can request a miracle. And she always recommends that they don't request something specific, because then again, if they're putting their ego mind to what that miracle, that transformation, that change, that shift in perception would look like, she says, ask something more for safety, clarity, health, peace, you know, those kinds of qualities as opposed to a specific thing. And we do find, you know, people generally report back that they've kind of experienced that, or they want to come back and, you know, they like it here. Also, a lot of people, I think, have connected with their purpose. So a lot of people that have come here have like gone forth and then begun their own things, like in their own families or in their own communities, or started new, whether it just be writing or the way they express on social media, the types of meetings they attend, the way they interact with their own surroundings or the people in their lives. I'm trying to think of some of the other more specific things, like you know, like that would be, can you think of anything?
Like helpful or examples of?
I mean, we have had things like CE5s here, which are close encounters of the fifth kind, which is like conscious contact. And we had what we would call more like elementals, or there's guardians that Mary has shared with us about that exist on the property. We've had interactions with them. They haven't been so much with visual as much as like they kind of showed up in one of our group things and scratched on the back of the chairs, and the animals were, reacting and definitely could feel their presence and things like that. We've had, we did have some sort of phenomena where we, did do this conscious contact, and the next day there was an imprint of a V-shaped craft on the property.
Oh, wow. Like in the mud or something?
Yes, down below by the river. And it was symmetrical. I think it was 11 or 12 feet on each. It was a triangular shaped imprint. It had to have come from above because there were no drag marks anywhere around it. We didn't have any kind of experience when we were doing this CE5 event. After the event, the people that were here experienced some loss of time. We felt, there was like a little bit of a disorientation, not a negative disorientation, but sort of like oh my gosh, it's so much later than we thought it was. And we were just chatting and, kind of having a nice time together. The next morning, before we even saw it, is when we got the message that we visited you. Our craft was in the gist of a V, like GIST, the gist of a
general,
V.
Yeah.
So like a triangle. And it was. And then we got here, and there it was. I mean, I have photos. They're not that exciting, but it's very clearly a V, like just imprinted into the ground below. And like I said, there's no drag marks anywhere, because I was like, did somebody bring a kayak up here? Or, things like that. We've had music that there is no, it's kind of the music of the spheres, very beautiful, melodic music, kind of angelic. We can't find a source of.
We've had orbs.
Yeah, we talked about the orbs. Yeah. Mark had a surgery when he was 25 for an aneurysm and has not been able to smell ever since. And, probably I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks after we moved in, you started being able to smell roses and coffee. Now he still can't smell all the time, but definitely he can smell at certain times. And again, it's kind of elevated times.
Elevated times, exactly. That's the best way to put it.
I'm trying to think for others. I know lots of messaging. So people will come and share messages. We'll do actual messaging. Some are doing it, just clairaudient wise. Some people are doing the talk method. But we think it's fun because people will get the same messages. We'll say we're going to set a timer for 20 minutes and just everybody do their messages. And some people will get some of the exact same lines. And things.
How about that?
So we can, sense that resonance and those kind of things. But even last night, we've been in a book study for 5 weeks. So the same group has come here, 14 people for 5 weeks. And, last night, one of the girls made a couple little comments and the other lady across says, "Oh my gosh, you're Aaron. You grew up across the street from me." And so then, they were here for an hour chatting about, it was just so it was just fun. Now that can happen anywhere, but like you said, there's somebody up there and also their businesses match up. So now they've made plans to connect. And so it's so beautiful, but a lot of things, I guess a lot of things like that. And then just a lot of, people that have come here for different events. We've had breathwork events where people have had, really, wonderful experiences, healing experiences.
And is that right here, where we're sitting?
Yeah, we move the furniture around depending on what the event is. So if somebody is requesting to do something like a qigong or a tai chi or a, breath work or sound bowls, we just move all the furniture out of the way, and we have a big space here that we can do that. Or if it's a smaller event, we just make a little circle.
And you knew what kind of space to build because Mary told you, like, make a big room.
Yes.
All through. 33 feet long. She wanted a passageway for the window. We're built directly on the east-west line. So that side of the house is the east side, and it's direct. Like the middle of the house lines up perfectly with the east-west line. She wanted a chapel or church ceiling roof. She asked us to make a triangular window up there, but we could not afford it. So she said it was okay because the roof line was vaulted. So I'm trying to think colors. She told us we would pick out all the colors by the names of the color. Little things. One of the girls last night was asking about the color of something, and I was like, oh, it's called dove gray, Holy Spirit, peace, dove, all of these things. So there were lots of those kinds of things. She only wanted us to create one bedroom, even though we have children, we have grandchildren. She said, this eventually will just be used as a more of a healing house and a passageway for people to another, basically, level of consciousness, and we will not necessarily be living here. She, I think, talks about where we would be living is a little hard for Mark and I to understand. I think it's in a little bit different realm. So, but she says that all has to do with this new earth that she speaks of. So as things are falling apart, things are also already existing that are coming into manifestation, coming into phasing in. They're already here, but they're phasing in. And so we'll have access to that. So I know we'll live in community. We don't completely understand it. We don't need to understand it. We're happy here now and kind of open to the next step.
And I think I remember you guys talking about when we had first visited a couple of years ago, there's like an entrance to inner earth here.
She does speak of that.
Is that related to the new earth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can you say more about what you understand about that?
She just says that on the property, there is a doorway or a gateway. We feel like we know where it is. It's up the pathway. It's there's an old hearth. There's many old hearths that we've uncovered on this property because this property was used by some Native American groups and then also a community, like a retreat community here in St. Louis. So there was some cabins and different things like that. So she says there is a gateway or a passageway to inner earth, which again, when people talk to us about it, we can't really speak to it that much in the sense that we feel like it is kind of a physical place, but it's also a dimensional place. And so, we don't feel like we're going to enter into some cave and then have to like hike, 500 miles down or 100 miles down into the earth or something. It doesn't feel like that. It feels more like there's a phasing of worlds so that we would possibly enter there, and we feel that there is already community there, and it's not accessible to us yet.
Wow.
And again, it's not just for us. I mean, she says
We're community, yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Well, and she talks about there's access points throughout the globe. And anyone that is in awareness of like unity consciousness will experience it, because you will not be able to experience separation in this new earth of unity consciousness. So we're not afraid. We don't get caught up in people are going to be left behind and who's good and who's bad. And, all of that. It's not even part of the understanding.
What is your understanding of New Earth? And it's July 2025. What's your perception of like what's happening like presently? Sort of globally speaking. If you pay attention to it.
Well, we don't really
We
pay
a lot of attention. No,
We don't.
We've kind of given up on that. But, but that the systems are crumbling. They're in the process of
dismantling,
and there's something else that's going to be displacing that system, those systems.
Yeah. So it definitely feels like we can definitely hear about things that are going on and we react as humans, right? But what we're told is pray for everyone. So like over the last, however many months, couple wars, longer than that, but like the Ukraine, Russian war, the Iraq, Iran, or whatever, we're told rise above it, pray for everyone, put your energy towards love and healing and unity, and you know nothing and do not get involved. So we do not purport to, we don't side with anyone or anything like that. We feel like it is these are these last vestiges of kind of separation energy trying to take hold. And we're just going to let them go because we know what's rising right there in its midst. And that's where we're told to keep our
focus.
And
that's
our
what
presence.
our focus. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know if somebody's like, well, will the United States still exist or something? We have no idea. And I don't want to say we don't care. It's not that we don't care, but we're certainly looking forward to the vision she has explained to us. And we've seen it in motion. So the crumbling, the falling apart, those kind of things can seem frightening, but then we're just told to rise above it. And we've also been given experiences again where she calls that the higher octave, that if you hold your awareness or this light or you're projecting with the heart, your experience in the material plane does not match up to what the collective is saying is happening. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I've had that same experience.
Yeah.
Especially talking to like friends in the military or in, intelligence communities. Like, this is what we're seeing. And I'm like, that's not what I'm seeing,
Right.
But yeah. Maybe this feels like a good place to start to close our interview, but what do you foresee for this place in the future for you guys? Or, what's how far down the path can you see from where you're at for this journey that you guys are on? What's next?
Well, I mean, we don't really know, do we? I mean, we don't know, but we're open. I mean, there's an excitement about kind of like what can be. Like you don't know if you're a pioneer, you don't know what's beyond the next mountain. There's no way of knowing that. But still, it's kind of just like moving forward or going forward with it. And the key, going forward in joy and love.
Yeah. And I think every day, like, especially for me, because I'm here a lot, I'll be like, I feel like I should do something more because I just, it's really a fun life for me because people just mostly come to visit and we do wonderful, uplifting experiences or conversations. We commune a lot, so we, we usually have snacks and things like that and people chat, like just get to know each other afterward. So whether it's a meditation or a writing type of thing, or like I said, an energy tai chi, or a water ceremony. I mean, there's been so many things. We've even had groups come and consciously cut down honeysuckle and bless it as it's coming out and things like that. Lots of fun. But whenever I ask, like, what more should I be doing? I mean, all she ever says is to just basically be here and be present and be always sharing the same message, that that access to the true realm through the heart, and the spirit connection, the relationship, the oneness with the I am, with God, with all of that. That's what's true. That is reality. And that's really all we're asked. I think the only thing that would give us maybe a clue in the 3D world would be, in the beginning, she said, run a 20-year menagerie. Now, menagerie means zoo. And we don't personally have any pets, but we live in a menagerie.
So many people are coming through.
Well, people, but all the
animals,
animals, all the wild animals
there's
that are.
wild animals that are coming through here, and eagles and owls and fox and coyotes and deer and wild turkey, and it's very beautiful, colorful birds all the time. And also, I will say, like, also kind of in that interdimensional realm, there's also, I'm not going to call them wild animals, but the elementals that we've had contact with, things like that. So it's like a vibrant, like life soup here, And so we're technically 7 years in. We've been stewards of the property for 7 years. We've lived here for almost 3. So I guess, maybe we have 13 more, and who knows? Who knows? But
okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We don't really need to know.
Yeah. And is there anything that we haven't covered yet that you want to make sure, anything you want to say, or just like final thoughts that you'd love to share?
I think
I don't have any.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we would say is, again, we love to, we know this is happening all across this planet and beyond, but we love to connect with people, to share stories, to kind of help inspire each other, to, I don't know, it just helps. I guess to me, it's like creating a new collective consciousness. So, if anybody has questions or wants to share with us or ever visit and things like that, we're always open to that.
What would be the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably just reaching out through email. My email, like Meg Berry 1122 @gmail.com. So it's MEGBERRY 1122 @gmail. And I don't know. I'm fine to give out my phone number. It's out there. Should I say it here or not?
If you want people to call you.
So it's 314-517-0629. So
amazing.
Yeah. And we also do have, it's more for the St. Louis area. But it is a little bit a very condensed part of our story, but there's also contact information through there. We have a little website called luminouslife.com, and the luminous is spelled LOUMINOUSLIFE.com, and it's kind of for St. Lou or St. Louis.
The Lou,
so it's
yeah.
the LOU, the Lou.
Wonderful.
So on that, there's also contact information, and also things about events or great practitioners like yourself.
Yeah, thanks for putting that together.
Of course, and some places that are high vibe and stuff in the area. So we enjoy doing that.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for that.
Oh.
Thanks for hosting me for this interview.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah, mine as well.